Primo's Place. Today we have a special guest joining us. His name is Rahjeet. He's a valued member of our league. And he's an avid football fan. He's been with us. This is the first cycle. He might have played a couple games last cycle. He has a reputation in the CFM community. He's known to be a really good Madden player. Very good strategist. Some people say that he only loses when he wants to lose. The people in TSL, I believe Witt said that. Um, but yeah, when he's not busy dominating in leagues, I don't know. You can find him, trying to fix his internet. But let's get into the show. Rajit is the guest, by the way. If you didn't guess, it is Rajit. Is that how you say it? Rajit.
Rahjeet, you got it.
Rajit. Okay. How did you first get into playing football video games?
First football video game was NCAA football '07.
NCAA '07. Okay. All right. That's not too far away. How old are you?
I am 36.
36. Okay. I'm 37. So we're the same age. Okay. What's your favorite team to play as?
In Madden or in
In
general?
in Madden. In Madden. Yeah.
Oh, in Madden, it doesn't really matter. I'm
Oh,
not.
nice.
I don't have a NFL team fan association. Huge college
Okay.
football fan. I root for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm from the state of Ohio.
Okay.
But in the NFL, no, I just enjoy the product.
Okay. Where in Ohio are you from? I'm from Ohio also.
Toledo, the 419.
Toledo. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm from Cleveland now. That's all good. How do you prepare? Do you do anything special to prepare for your opponents in Madden, or any specific strategies or tactics you use when going into a
It
game?
depends on whether or not it's an important game. I mean, if it's a must-win game, I'm definitely going to scout them and look for tendencies.
Okay. All
Obviously,
right.
look at the roster and see where the mismatches are on both sides of the ball. What do I have to be worried about? How many 99 speed receivers do they have, etc.
Stuff like that. Okay. And that obviously may dictate the coverage that you run that game and situational stuff. Okay. What's your proudest moment or achievement in CFMs in your history of playing them?
I think probably proudest moment. I've played in a lot of money CFMs,
Okay.
but for a few years I was in a money CFM that was invite only, and it was mostly top 25, top 50 pros.
So it's like champions,
Which,
like
by the way,
people. When you say like it was an invite from money leagues from pros or from the CFM side of things, where it's just like champions. Because I've been in a champion league where it's like they only invited people that had championships in other CFMs, and it was just like the League of Champions. It was kind of cool, and they did a fantasy draft. But
no,
yeah,
that does sound cool. No, this one was MCS players. Almost everyone in the league was in the MCS.
oh, Madden Championship Series. That's when you say MCS. That's what you mean.
Right.
The professional people that play Madden like for money, like where they got like.
Exactly. Top 25, top 50 in the world. Almost everyone in the league was in that range.
Okay,
I'm obviously not on that level.
okay, and so what happened? Just getting invited was your proudest moment,
Oh
or
no, no,
something that
I made the
happened?
playoffs a couple times and made money. That was my proudest moment.
Oh, making money in the league full of people who play for money is okay. That is
Exactly. Some upsets that also I'll say like my typical style is to try to be as off meta as possible. So I had developed some really off meta schemes that season that helped me get to the playoffs, and by the next season, a lot of the guys in the league were had adopted my scheme. That was kind of cool to see.
so they were learning from you. So you kind of like teaching the pros how to not be such a well, never mind. Let's not get into that yet. So like
No,
in that.
I was just showing them that you could do something other than run gun bunch every single offensive snap and still move the
Yeah,
ball.
because that's the stigma. A lot of the championship series, or I don't know, the rest of them draft, maybe draft challenge or mud champions, stuff like that, where they kind of all have the similar style. Where it's like, okay, we're gonna run this, and there's no play limits. I don't think so. At least I don't know. Maybe this updated,
No,
or
absolutely not.
that should be something that they should consider. Like make them put like 3 times they can run a play or some shit like that. That make it better. Like, but because it's like
None of
it's
those
not
guys would want to do that. That's just a different
it's
mentality.
not about wanting to do it. It's about that's what you're gonna do, or you ain't gonna get paid. Like they gotta put their foot down. I mean, like
Oh, you mean at the MCS level?
yes, yes.
Yeah, it might make it more interesting for fans for sure.
Oh yeah, but like yeah, but then I'm sure they'll find something else. It's whatever, but definitely it's CFM's a little different. So like in that money league with all these pro players, like were they playing sim at all, or they were playing the same way they played them like for money? They were just doing whatever works, or they were just goofing off. What were
Oh,
they?
I
How
mean,
were they
it
like?
was. Yeah, the games were the playing games there was like watching an MCS stream. You're dealing
Oh,
with
straight
all
up
the
the
same
same.
blitzes and setups and everything else.
Were they playing on all pro or Madden? Like did that matter?
Oh, all Madden.
Is that do they play on all Madden when they play in the championship series, or is it all pro? I think it's all
Yeah,
pro.
I think it's all pro.
Okay, so it's
But
a
I
little
also
different.
don't know that I don't know if it's the same between CFM and what they're playing on.
Oh, okay. Sim mode and competitive also has a factor in it too. Yeah, it's a lot of different things that make the gameplay a bit different. So that's quite proud. You made the playoffs against people who play Madden kind of like a full time job. Some of them.
I mean, I will say it was by the skin of my teeth. I think I made it in with like 8 or 9 wins.
Hey, you're playing against people that know the game. That was an interesting league. I do it. The stats in that league would be interesting if all the games were played and there was a lot of forces. That would be really interesting to see how that stuff
Oh,
played out.
the top guys like Henry was in there, Potton was in there. Some of those guys were just throwing for like 7,000 yards a season.
I see. How long ago was that?
Last time I played in that league was 2 years ago,
2 years ago. Oh, okay. Well, how long?
which is basically the last time I played Madden up
Okay, so
till
you've
last
been so
month.
you've been kind of gone for like 2 years, and now you've just come back. You playing any other leagues besides STE?
Yeah, a couple other
Oh
leagues,
yeah, that's right. We got the
nothing
221.
serious.
221.
Yeah.
You're in that one. We actually played 221 recently, and then in STE recently. And it just so happens that your internet always gets the best of you. So it's been gifting me some wins, I guess. But
I
how do
wouldn't
you?
say gifting. Well,
No, I
first of
mean,
all, let me say you said earlier some people have said I only lose when I want to. I
yes.
promise you, I have lost way more times than I want to. There occasionally there is a strategic reason to lose, but I'm going to just publicly state 90 at least 95% of my losses I definitely did not want to lose.
So I think when they're saying you only lose when you want to, they're saying that you're not focused and fixed in the game. So it's like
Oh.
that's what when they say you only lose when you want to. But that's what at least what's saying. And like based on the fact that you're playing with championship series, there may be some truth to that in the CFM circles. But I like to think that you lost because I got some skills and there was the lag. But I think that I'm a competitor. I like to think that I can hang in there even if you didn't have lag. But that's here nor there. I do build pretty decent rosters. I'm not saying I'm a perfect GM, but I'm pretty good at building some teams out. And obviously the Browns team comes ready made. So that team was good. But I flipped the Steelers and I ended up getting Josh Allen. But enough about me. How do you stay motivated? Obviously taking 2 year break would help stay fresh. So, but like, how do you stay motivated, engaged in the league? Do you have any rivals in the league? I know you and Chalk were talking a little bit in the trade committee. But yeah.
Well, if I had a rival, it wouldn't be Chalk because he's always been pretty terrible at Madden. But in general, I enjoy leagues where there's a lot of banter and chat. I like trolling people on on the chat channels. But motivation mostly is just I like to learn the game. The best way to understand the game is to really understand what the meta is and why it works. And then I use that to build off meta schemes, and that probably keeps me more interested in anything else.
Okay. You see what the meta is, why the things that work, and then you try to do something that's not quite that, but is still effective. Am I getting that?
Yeah, that's 100% right because Madden is a different game every single year, and there are certain things that carry over pretty well every season, but you have to understand the nuts and bolts of of how the how the angles work and how the dice rolls work and how the
Right.
physics work. Every single
Yeah.
Madden it changes.
Perfect. Perfect. So now let's dig a little deeper in that because we can educate the league on some things. Um, you say that certain things carry over from Madden to Madden, like the thresholds probably, like maybe a man coverage threshold or a zone threshold or height thresholds, hit power thresholds, weight thresholds. A lot of these things they're just lazy coders and they drag them on there, then they throw some extra abilities on top of it. But which things have been like deep coded in Madden that you just know, okay, based on this, I don't even know if they changed the dice roll percentages. They may tune it, I guess. But what things are like stand out to you? The immediate things every Madden player should know that this is part of the game, and this is why you should build a roster this way, maybe as opposed to this way. Obviously, speed kills. That's probably the one everybody knows in Madden. Like people, for whatever reason, think that like okay, my player is better than yours. If yours is faster, you're gonna win it. So you probably should have some help over top. But yeah, what else besides speed would you say like things that Madden players should know when playing the game and assembling a roster and trying to be competitive?
Yeah, speed's always going to matter. It also really depends on whether you're playing on sim or comp. I very rarely have played on sim, mostly because it's a version of the game that the devs do not support. They don't actively develop for it. They don't test for it. And I've gotten multiple internal devs at EA who have confirmed that. Like, if you want to play the game the way that we mean it to be played, just play on comp. That's what we test for. Um, one thing that I'll say is like I guess a pet peeve of mine. Offensive line, if they don't have abilities, their overall and ratings just don't matter that much. They do matter a little bit, but you get someone who's like 90, 95 overall with no abilities at left tackle, and he comes up against someone with edge threat, he's going to beat him just as bad as someone that's 52 overall.
Okay, okay. 1 second, I'm having some technical difficulties. People are sending here echo. 1 second. Yeah, Raji, you still there?
Yep.
Okay, hold on a second. That's
Yeah, the echo's gone. I could hear it before on my side too.
okay. All right, so echo's gone. All right, so apparently my headphones suck and they've been causing echoes. So now I'm going through the controller by itself. All right, let me put the volume up a little bit more. Um, yeah, so okay, so yeah, so there's some things that the devs they pretty much say that the game plays better on competitive, not on sim. But we play on sim, so but you haven't dove in on the technical things that are happening in the sim mode that affect the game. I was
Well, one thing that's really obvious is on Sim, the ratings that don't matter much on comp definitely matter more on Sim. So I do like it from that standpoint. Um, but I've noticed I was actually in one other league. I joined a money league, which I'm nowhere near I'm nowhere near able to be competitive at this point with just how I'm not good at this year's game yet and don't have good internet. But I have noticed in that league for whatever reason, it's on Sim, which is the first money league I've ever been on that was on Sim. But seeing some of the defenses people play, where they should be getting weak boxed every time, and they're able to stop the run effectively with eight DBs on the field, that's pretty crazy. And those defenses don't work the same on comp.
got it. I got it. Let's see. Hmm. Interesting. Well, so what new features or improvements would you like to see in future Maddens? I mean, obviously, fixing stuff like that, but what else?
I would say the number one thing, because this is something that I think separates really high end players from really low. And I should say, first of all, I think the skill gap in Madden compared to a real comp title, I don't consider Madden a real comp title. The skill gap is very small compared to other games. I've played other video games competitively. I tried to play a MOBA competitively, Dota 2, and I spent a significant amount of time trying to get good at that game and realized that the skill gap was such that even with a lot of effort, I was an intermediate player at best competing against guys that were just on a completely different level. Whereas in Madden, without dedicating my entire life to the game, I was able to compete with some of the best players in the world. Um,
Okay.
Sorry, what was the first question? I was leading up to something.
Any new improvements you'd like to see
Oh yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
Madden?
So the thing you'll notice consistently about really good players, like really top level players, is their their knowledge of blocking schemes from a Madden standpoint is very high, and those blocking schemes do not reflect real life uh, protection packages at all.
Right.
But
Oh, for
they
sure.
know when they see a certain defense who they're going to have to ID, who they're going to have to double, which way they're going to have to slide the line, who has to be, depending on what formation they're in, who's going to have to be extra blockers, if they have to motion someone to be an extra blocker, where do they snap the ball, what gap. They're really nuanced about that and sophisticated, but unfortunately, it's so opposite of any kind of a real life pass pro that it's kind of embarrassing for the game. I would like to see they do this because certain blitzes in the game are incredibly effective to the point where they're near 100% effective if you don't know how to block them. And when I say don't know how to block them, I'm talking about all the things that I just said. So I would like to see um, one more adaptive blocking to where if someone's running a certain blitz that's just really crazy and the game by default doesn't know how to pick it up, I would rather see some adaptive AI blocking where they'll pick up those glitchy blitzes, even if they have to do silly things to pick it up. They do enough silly things as it is on the. I would rather just see them like figure out how to pick up blitzes to give people an adequate amount of time to pass, and respect blitzes that are more about the numbers that are being brought against the number that's being blocked, which is the most basic, blitz concept in real life. Just bring an extra guy. Um, Overloads, bringing more numbers on one side, just forcing someone to do something simple like slide block. Put the running back over on the other side of the formation. Um, Whatever. Anything to improve pass pro to make it more realistic and force people to use more realistic blitz concepts as opposed to just finding random wide blitzes that are, for whatever reason, unblockable and loop blitzes, which is this year's meta.
Right. I definitely understand that. Yeah, that's a good feature. I'd also like to see them, make it so, the same, concepts or plays can be run on a regular basis. Like in real life, players they're adaptive and they learn from their mistakes. Like they're not going to just let you keep doing the same thing. But that actually requires them to pay their dev team and grow it and make it possible. But that's not going to happen. Um, how do you balance your time between the leagues that you play in and other responsibilities and hobbies? You got any families, work, job, company you're running or something like that?
Yeah. Well, I do have a family. I have two kids. I've been
Oh,
married for
nice.
16 years, so I stay
Okay.
busy with them. That's why I rarely play on the weekends. I try to just spend the whole weekend with the fam. Um, we recently moved to a property that's kind of off the grid, and we got a lot of stuff to do out there. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
fun. I'm a founder of a tech company. I've been doing that since 2004. Um, Started a couple other companies and sold some of them. I'm also involved at a couple other startups. I'm kind of in a sales and client accounts role at most of them.
Oh, that's very, very good. That's what I like to hear. I like to have league members that, are productive members of society and good role models for other people to strive to be like that. That's good. You live off the grid. That's what's causing the internet issues. You have to do some kind of work to get decent internet. Unless you can run a fiber optic cable or something and set up your own nodes and hubs and stuff. But yeah, man, that's cool stuff, man. And you're from Ohio too, so go Bucks indeed. What advice would you
Go
give?
Bucks!
Yeah, for sure. What advice would you give new members joining the league, or people who are just starting out in Madden? Like, how would you give them some advice about CFM life and all that stuff?
Yeah, so for CFMs, I would say it's really important to understand how progression works and to understand how the money side works. Also, it really surprised me, even pretty good players. I noticed this early on when Madden introduced abilities. A lot of the pros knew nothing about the abilities. They didn't test them, so they didn't really know how certain abilities were really good and could be used. in niche offenses. So learn how the abilities work. Some abilities in the game are way overpowered, and some of the abilities are absolutely useless. There is certainly a tier for each ability. So, playing in CFM, most of them have abilities active. So, learn learn how the abilities work, and have a plan for your roster, like a long-term plan for the money, for players that have abilities, players that don't have abilities. Manage your breakout games. Manage how you're going to spend your XP and cap and everything else. Be a good GM.
Okay. All right. And before I let you go, gotta ask you thoughts on Bitcoin.
Bitcoin specifically, or just crypto in general?
Bitcoin. I don't. I put Bitcoin in its own place and crypto in another place because most cryptos are decentralized, and then also Bitcoin has the first player mover advantage. Yeah. Hold on one second. My daughter decided to run in my office.
It's fun.
Okay. All right. Cause yeah, she's a little excited. She's got back from school, but yeah. So I kind of put Bitcoin in its own category. But yeah, I mean, if you want to group them all together, sure. Uh, what do you think about
So first of
Bitcoin and
all,
crypto?
as a personal principle, I don't really do any speculative investing, and that's mostly because as an entrepreneur, I can always deploy capital in other places, and I'd
Hmm.
rather deploy capital where I have an intense amount of control over it, as opposed to investing speculatively. So I don't invest in Bitcoin. It's something that I've been aware of since the very early days, and I'm currently involved in a number of free projects. So I'm very interested in crypto and digital decentralization as a concept. But Bitcoin specifically, I don't know. Like the price of Bitcoin, it's probably not at its floor. I think it'll probably go up from here, but I don't care that much. I will say, if anyone who's interested in Bitcoin, if you've never read Satoshi Nakamoto's original Bitcoin white paper, I would highly suggest you go and read it because the plan for what Bitcoin was and blockchain specifically was very forward thinking, and we're seeing realized now in Web three,
Yeah,
and it has
first.
way more to do with blockchain and distributed technologies than currency.
Right, right. So yeah, and going back to that, yeah. So Bitcoin, me personally, is not an investment. It's just a hedge against fiat in general and censorship from any government that wants to impose any restrictions on you. So it's a means of transferring. I mean, you transfer data, and it's no centralized. Nobody can really stop it, and then eventually you'll get your your transactions processed, even if there were certain nodes that was trying to censor you, because the network is large enough. There's the amount of nodes that were trying to censor you, they wouldn't be able to continuously censor you through the entire process. You'd eventually get your transactions pushed through. So that's more of a hedge down the road. I'm not looking at it as an investment, but I do think that it will become more
Sure.
valuable as people look for ways to fight inflation and censorship. That's it. I don't look at it as
Now,
anything other
what
than
one
that.
thing? Yeah, this might be pedantic, but crypto is a fiat currency.
No,
It's
no, no,
not
no, no.
a
Yeah, yeah,
centrally
no, yeah,
controlled currency, but it's still fiat.
fiat, yeah. By definition, because it's based on faith. Yes, it's like you have to believe in it. But like the one thing about even if it is fiat, it's a fiat that doesn't have an unlimited printer. At least Bitcoin, essentially, unless everybody decides to agree and jump to the nodes that are doing that. But yeah, but let me get back
Yeah,
to that because
there's no central authority that can practice quantitative easing with Bitcoin,
yeah,
for example,
exactly,
which is a
exactly,
nice feature.
exactly. Well, yeah, but let's jump off the Bitcoin and get back to the league. So, anything else you would like to share with the listeners about your experience in the league or your love for football and video games? Anything you'd like to tell the league or any rivals? I mean, obviously, I know you know Shadow Tactics. He's one of my amens. He's a great computer mind himself. He's doing his own things too. But I know you got to play him this week coming up. And but yeah, anything you want to tell the league members, any rivals, and I know you don't really have rivals, and you said Shock is not on the level of being a rival. Shadow Tactics probably is taking his lumps. Uh, your division, where you think you're going to win it easy, or
Well, I won it by one game last season, and that's only because I beat Chiefs twice. So I expect it to be difficult again this season. That said, I guess if there's one thing to know, I got into Madden not because I loved the NFL or because I loved football video games. Although I did love NCAA football, and when that comes out again, I'll probably play that a lot more than I would play Madden. Um, I absolutely loved the online leagues in college football. But I played semi-pro football for 3 seasons, and then I coached for another 3 seasons. And it was really my love for football and football strategy and the nerdy side of X's and O's that got me into Madden. Obviously it's a bit of a fool's errand to try to replicate real football in Madden, and it always has been. But I have seen. I'm really I'm pretty bearish on the EA dev team in general, but I do think the last couple Maddens they've done a lot of things that at least give you more options to do more things as a coach, so to speak, to modify how your team plays than they did in the past. So
Yeah, certainly. There were rumblings that Amazon was gonna buy EA, but I don't know. No, that didn't come to fruition. But yeah, I won't hold you up, man. It was a good show. I was glancing over your team. I see you starting to stack your defense, much like me. You got a lot of
well,
abilities on defense. I see you acquired.
when you're playing on a really bad internet connection, stacking up on offense doesn't really make sense because you have to be able to execute at a high level. On defense, I'm hoping that it gives me enough of an edge to like at least make the playoffs that I can just sit on the D line. My connection's not good enough to user most of the time, so I just have to sit on the D line. If I'm going to do that, then I'm going to need a lot of good players on the defense to be able to make plays for me, and hope that that's enough to make a difference.
Is there any way or possibility you can limit the lag, the input lag?
Uh, oh, I mean, get a better connection, but that's
Yeah,
right now that's not an option. I'm trying to figure out if I can run a line with the local ISP. They can't service my house right now, but I'm hoping that in the future they'll be able to pull some lines out there and get us real internet.
yeah, man.
Satellite is it's good for work. I got no complaints about Starlink from a general standpoint. I can do
Right.
everything else I need to on it, but for gaming, it's like minimum 80 to 85 milliseconds of lag, and frequently the up and down is single digits. So
I
it's
see.
not great for gaming.
All right. I know that's tough. Hopefully you can hang in there, man. You seem like a very good member, man. Yeah, but yeah, you got to do what you got to do. If the L's and the painful losses due to lag, it takes you out. It takes you out, I guess. But yeah,
I'm
won't hold
still
you
having
up, man.
fun.
Yeah, I won't hold you up, man. I look forward to our next battle. We're in the same division in 221, and I'm sure we may meet in the STE playoffs. All right, but until next time, man. You take care, man.
Thanks, Primo. See you.
All right, no problem. That's it, boys. That's the show.